Gonna go ahead and just dive right into it.
はい、キルラインの時はイグナイト、ヒールクレンズといったところが強力ですから、それを、使いたいがための解放のマルシャだったと思いますが、だからこそ連戦で少し苦しみましたよね。
So, starting off, once again, we see some familiar faces of bands right off the bat. Rumble and Elise taken off the table immediately. The Rumble we did see in week 1 was in the support position. Rumble support has been picking up a bit of popularity in the past, in the support position among LJL and in LCK. We will be on 10.2 still. I believe we have 2 more weeks of 10.2. I believe 10.3 or the week 3 will be on 10.2 as well. But for now, all of these games will be on 10.2. And we see the Aphelios ban coming out last round for Sengoku Gaming. They're willing to hand over V3 Esports their set, a likely first pickup for the side of V3 Esports. Which does mean that Sengoku Gaming will be likely picking up the misfortune here, and as I say that, it's being hovered right away. Now, we did see, I believe, yes, both of them went 1-1 last week. V3 Esports had a pretty close game. They did lose their game 1 into Detonation Focus Me, but did come out on top against Axis Gaming. Sengoku also going 1-1. Both teams, I think, have shown decent potential so far, so we'll have to kind of see how they play up. And we do see the Lee Sin locked in for blank in the jungle of Sengoku Gaming. A pretty popular pickup. Does have, I believe, we have seen that blank in the past does have the mechanical skill to make Lee Sin work. Very strong showing. With a lot of the other early junglers taken off the table, I think Blank is just very comfortable with the Lee Sin, and we do see Senna locked in for the side of V3 Esports. Archer going to be most likely piloting the Senna for this game. They do lock the Gragas, opposed to the Rex side. They do go for the Gragas. Gragas does have a lot of that disrupt potential. Does have, you do have the explosive cask to try and knock people around, try to make plays happen, and Sengoku Gaming locking themselves in LeBlanc as well. And this does actually put the draft in a good position for Sengoku. I do like the LeBlanc show early here. You do get to dedicate your bans towards mid lane. It can be somewhat risky just because V3 Esports can now show bans for some bans for top lane if they want to make sure that they don't get away with any lanes that are good in a set. As I say, that Mordekaiser does come out here. You do have your pick of the Kale ban or the Gangplank ban, both popular picks into set these days. Leona ban also coming out from the side of Sengoku Gaming. Sengoku will have first pick, so it is possible that they will be looking to grab themselves either a Nautilus or possibly a Thresh on this first round. And we do see Ornn ban coming out for the side of V3 Esports. Pretty fair ban. Ornn, one of the best, if not the best, top laner at the moment, as far as tanks are concerned. And Sengoku Gaming is hovering the Nautilus. Looks like they are going to be locking that in for themselves. And that leaves V3 Esports still with their own support, while also their mid laner to try and lock in on this round. And they do have to kind of be careful. They do have to worry about what they're going to be playing into LeBlanc. The Braum pick is still available and can be pretty good into picks like Misfortune. You do get that you do have the wall shield to try and block off a lot of the damage from that bullet time. And it looks like that is what they will be going with. And now, with the Zoe being hovered, Zoe, a pretty popular pick into LeBlanc, can be kind of rough, but the Jace pickup from the side of V3 Esports, the Jace going into the mid lane, a pretty spicy pick, if I do say so. Does have some potential for that early game harass, can kind of match the LeBlanc, and Sengoku Gaming actually locking themselves the Yorick for Opperman in the top lane. Yorick, not exactly a pro play pick you see terribly often. You do have the Maiden, and you do have that kind of sustained damage that you can possibly try to brawl out with the set a bit in that top lane. Is a little bit difficult, and definitely not, you do lose a little bit of your team fighting pressure, but does have the split push pressure. If any ganks go well top lane, you do have Yorick's capability to take down those turrets very quickly and can have a huge threat on taking a lot of, opening up the map very quickly with his pushing power. And as coaches shake hands and we load onto the Rift, we'll be getting right into the first game of week 2 here at the LJL. Now we do kind of have an interesting, comp here, kind of on both sides. You do have the Jace and the Senna for kind of like that poke pressure. You can poke and prod at them. You have decent engage with the Gragas. The Gragas does have his flash E, and with Set on the LeBlanc, or I mean with Set in the top lane, it can be kind of difficult for both LeBlanc and Lee Sin to try and make their way in. You do have the zoning pressure of being able to ult them out of the fight before Lee Sin is able to get those kicks off, before LeBlanc is able to deal too much damage. But the other thing that is a little bit worrisome is that you do kind of have this split in focus here from the side of Sengoku Gaming here, where you do have like the Senna the Senna, which wants to scale, doesn't deal the most amount of damage, but you also have the Jace, which is very early game focused. So we'll have to see how V3 is going to play this one out. They do have the early mid game available to them. And as we roll through here, we do see pretty standard starts from both sides. Looks like Blank and Boogie will both be starting towards the top side. And Boogie does drop the ward to make sure that he knows. I believe Blank was spotted on it, but he does back for his sweeper, takes the early sweeper. Lee Sin not able to pull off the same thing. Lee Sin does have to worry about his, does like having his wards in his back pocket, does like having the ward hop potential. And as we see here, but looks like Paz will be leashing in the top lane while Blank does solo start on his red buff. And a decent amount of vision committed for this early game by both sides. It does look like V3 committed a little bit more to just making sure that no invades are going to happen. Blank does have the ability to kind of harass Gragas. Gragas doesn't exactly have the highest health clear, but he does often opt for the early back so that he can get to his boots faster, and have the Predator online and ready for gank potential. So it can be a little bit difficult to time out the ganks from Blank, or time out the invades, where you're going to harass, where you're going to try and contest. Jungle will be an interesting matchup for sure. A little bit of trading going on in the mid lane. And Opperman with the first early going here, and that is an advantage Yorick does have in the matchup versus Set. Set's Yorick's minions, the ones he summons, are not affected as much by crowd control. They take heavily reduced damage by crowd control, and although Set does have the 1-2 punch to try and cleave through them rather quickly, he does have to worry that his W is not going to be able to clear out those enemies as effectively. And it does look like Boogie opting for pretty standard clear. You do see Blank committing to his full clear onto his blue buff now. And Oppaman with the first big push knows that both junglers started top, or assuming both junglers started topside, knows he has some safety, knows that Boogie will be clearing towards that bottom side. And now Boogie does look towards the mid lane here, and the first fight might be around this scuttle. Boogie not opting to try and contest. Knows Pyrian is already looking, and Pyrian already chasing him back slightly. There is going to be first crab going over to Blank, and Blank immediately crossing over to try to grab that second one, try and make sure that doesn't have the contest potential. But Paz getting the better end of this trade, flashing forward with the 1-2. The box is going to slow him down, and Oppaman actually beautifully holding his flash there. Very nice showing from Paz. Knows that, from Oppaman, knowing that Paz doesn't have the just enough kill pressure, cooldowns just a little bit too long. Paz, his early flash was a little bit, I don't want to say greedy, but almost wishy. He, he wants that kill. He knows he can get it if he has enough time, but Oppaman just slowly walks away, puts up his little box to keep Paz company and kind of, just hold him back, and no flash burned. It will mean that Oppaman does have to play a little bit more careful without that much HP, but he does have flash advantage now on his top lane. And we do see that just kind of playing out across the map. Oppaman does have a little bit of a early CS lead here. And Paz, of course, you do get some CS back from taking those, taking down the minions that Yorick summons. They do not offer as much gold. And Boogie trying to dance around the vision here. The double scuttle take from Blank actually does pose a bit of a threat, but Oppaman taking kind of a greedy back here might find himself dead, and it looks like he will. Predator used, and with Oppaman pushing up a little bit too far, he thinks he does have flash advantage. He does have kind of this threat potential, or he has a little bit more pressure than that. Does find himself backing in a bad spot, and Boogie and Paz ready to collapse on that. Great use of Predator from the early back dances right around the vision. You can slip by that scuttle vision with that from the entrance to river from blue side. And it does look like Boogie played around that very well. So first blood going over to V3 Esports, going over to Set. It may not, with the small CS lead that Oppaman does have, the gold difference doesn't feel too terrible. He does have the wave pretty deep in, but Oppaman, you do see, right away is already committing back to the top side, laying down more pressure. Pyrian teleporting back to lane to immediately start getting pressure down onto Ace. Little bit of a funky interaction there. Jace's knockaway does, of course, have that sort of buffering to it that allows it to go through most characters' dashes. So after LeBlanc takes the teleport back, is knocked aside, but no terrible amount of threat. We do see kind of interesting note is the summoner choices from both mid laners. Typical for LeBlanc to opt into the Ignite. You want that early kill pressure. And Ace actually opting for Cleanse as well. Also a popular Ignite pick, but does look like Oppaman find himself in a bad position. Does flash away, is forced to flash. He kind of has a maiden with him to turn the 2v2, but between Set E, Set R, and all the CC Gragas has to offer, you can't keep you locked up for a long time where you're just not able to answer the damage back. So Oppaman opts out, decides, I'll take my flash here. I won't worry about it too much. And a little bit of vision coming across from Boogie. Wanders in a little bit, still hanging out there, still looking for any potential. Will walk into that pink ward there. And you can see Ace already moving to help. Mayashi trying to just get some harass in the bottom side, but this top side is where it's going to be happening. You see a lot of members of V3 Esports moving into the jungle. Enti already here to kind of match the counter engage, clear out some of the vision for his team. And Ace gonna get a little bit of damage on Tupirian while he comes back to lane, but ultimately nothing too insane going on from either side just yet. And we do see that while V3 Esports does have the first blood, Sengoku Gaming is slowly pulling away with a little bit of a gold lead, just small CS leads across all of their lanes, actually trying to actually kind of pulling a little bit of gold into their favor. While they do drop the first blood, they do have the first dragon under their belt, and they do have a decent amount of gold just from different lanes. You can see 51 to 69 in the top lane, 72 to 75, very small but still slight. And you do have 71 to 74. The big one is, of course, the top lane and the jungle being 45 to 57. While jungle CS is a little bit different to track, you do see that, you know, numbers are still numbers. More CS equals more gold. And Engage goes on to Archer in the bot lane. He is forced to flash away, commits the R for the little extra healing, but Yatori Mayashi actually holds his R there, waits for the flash, knows that Archer will have to flash heal away. But once he's already blown both of those Senna, too immobile, Yutoto Mayashi willing to just burn him down with the bullet time. Great plays from both sides. Archer playing just a little bit too far up in the lane, and Enti immediately there to punish. Great stuff from both sides. Actually holds his R there as well. So he does have that tool still available to him. And that is going to be actually a big wave lost to the side of V3 Esports as it goes under turret. Reina will be able to pick up some of the gold and some of the EXP, but Archer not getting that gold is, of course, a bit of a downfall. And Yutono Mayashi is actually going to take the back for his call fields. And we're seeing return to kind of the neutral state that is fairly typical. You know, dragons slowly beginning as dragons come off cooldowns. We do see a lot of contention for vision, and this is actually where one of the points of the game. This is a point in the game where a bit of change happens. We do have now the Rift Herald online, and Boogie looking to try to get a gank off onto Pyrian. Pyrian does have his R available to him, but it's currently onto the chain, so he doesn't have the dash available to him just yet. Doesn't look like they'll be able to find a way around the minion wave, so Boogie opts to retreat back out, and Pyrian immediately starts pushing. I think they know that Boogie's retreating to that side of the map and kind of want to take looks around there. Puts the pink ward down, and Boogie returning again to this mid lane, showing Pyrian a little bit of love and a bit of extra attention. He does have to worry about Blank coming over the wall. Pyrian goes for a trade, does get the root off, and will have to commit his R just to dash out, but overall, nothing too insane going on there. Reina showing up just to try to turn the tides a little bit, but he is actually spotted out on that ward from the side of Sengoku Gaming, and I believe that was their call to not go too deep into that one. Pyrian knows he has the safety of his W to try and just, you know, back himself out. With 30 seconds on this Infernal Drake and NT's most recent clear of the vision, Sengoku Gaming is in a better position to try and go for this Drake, but we'll have to see how they decide to play that out. Ult coming off cooldown for Archer as well, so he will have that available to him, but no summoner spells for Archer. Ignite coming off cooldown as well for NT. But both top laners will have TP in time for this, so we'll have to see how big this fight ends up going. Archer Ace coming back to lane off of a fresh back as well. Reina moves up to put some vision in, wants to know when they're going to be starting this one up. And it looks like Sengoku are going to be going straight for it, finding themselves in position. So we do see the members of V3 Esports starting to encroach in. They don't have a whole lot of time to try to contest for this Drake, but they might be looking for more later. But Blank will be able to secure that one. And V3 Esports not going to take a fight once the objective is lost. Just going to return back to the neutral. Pyrian immediately going in, going for an aggressive start. The electrocute dealing so much damage to Ace. And Ace, actually off of a fresh back, will find himself backing again. And with a level lead already over to Pyrian, that is going to hurt him slightly. And with, the root lands onto Archer, but Archer might be biting off a bit more than he can chew with the damage. Yutoni Mayeshi now on to Reina. Reina forced to flash away. Auto Q are not going to be able to do it. The Ignite not taking down an Opperman, finding himself on the end of a gank. The ult combo is actually working out in Opperman's favor. Paz taking himself under turret will go down, but Paz barely limps away. And that is going to be kind of a little bit of chaos on both ends of the map here. Archer and Reina will actually end up going down. Opperman does unfortunately fall for the side of, unfortunately for Sengoku, will fall on the top side of the map, but that is more time for the Misfortune and the Nautilus to have working on this turret. Now they will try to trade over the Herald to try to level out some of the gold. We'll watch the replay here one more time, this time from bot lane's perspective. So Archer lands the root and immediately has to try and get away. He takes way too much damage from the bullet time. Reina finds himself on the bad end of this, and Blank looking just around here. He does have kick still available to him, but this is just way too many members coming in from the side of V3 Esports. They have nowhere to run. Under turret is no longer safe when you have 4 members looking down on you as they try to knock down that turret. And we do see V3 Esports holding the Rift Herald here. They don't commit it immediately to top lane, want to save it for those last 2 turret plates. It is good to pick up the objective there, but overall a 2-for-1 in Sengoku's favor. And Opperman is currently going 0-2 in lane, but does have still a decent amount of CS under his belt, so doesn't have to worry too terribly much. And Pyrian as well, slowly getting towards his item completions, is delayed slightly as he does have to opt in for the defensive stats against Jace. But the big gold difference is in this bot lane, 2-0-1 for Yutori Mayeshi, as he does knock down the first turret, adding more gold to his pocket. And with Misfortune kind of setting the tempo a bit ahead here, can be dangerous for the side of V3 Esports. They will knock down the turret in the top side. Boogie going up there to drop the Rift Herald for 4-set. But you do have to begin to worry. Yutori Mayeshi immediately going in, ulting the wave, and Archer with it. Archer is going to be able to walk out of it, but he does take a lot of damage and now has to worry again about the threat of just this Misfortune dealing so much damage so quickly. A bit bold with the ult from Yutori Mayeshi, but he does have committing the ult there is not that bad. You do have to, he does know that he will have the ult back in time for the next fight around Drake's, and he does need to kind of get it back off. He just picks up that extra gold, gets a bit of a chunk onto Archer, doesn't expect to kill. I don't imagine he expected too terribly much out of that. But look at the gold difference. You do see the Misfortune 1,000 gold ahead of the richest member of V3 Esports, and this is with Paz getting the turret gold from the Rift Herald, but he's still 1,000 gold behind, as Yutori Mayeshi just has such control, and it has so much gold on a key member of Sengoku's comp here. Now they look towards the mid lane, shoving those lanes in, wants to keep V3 Esports busy while they move around to try and contest some of the vision that Boogie has, or excuse me, that V3 Esports has set up around this Drake. And no teleports on either of the top laners this time around, and most likely won't be up in time for this Drake, so if Sengoku opts for the early take and does opt to try and play it as aggressively as they have been for this Drake, they will not have their top laners there for them, and that can be bad for the side of V3 Esports. But as I say that, they're looking for a little bit of harass here. But with Paz being having the most resources into him at the current moment, if he is not down here for this dragon fight, it can be bad for the side of Sengoku Gaming. Pyrian setting up for the flank again, finds a good chunk onto Ace, but doesn't get himself caught out by the Braum stun. A good chunk onto Jace here will allow Sengoku to take the aggressive option for this Drake if they so choose. Yutori Mayeshi playing a little bit bold, but knows keeps his distance from Gragas, doesn't want to get engaged on too easily. And V3 Esports now looking here, and this is where the issue of Sengoku's is sort of pinpointed, is that Yorick is not as good in a team fight as Set, and especially when Set is the stronger in gold and in kills and in level lead of the two. It can be kind of hard for Sengoku to find their way around this comp. Does Misfortune have the damage to try to work their way through this comp? And V3 Esports already finding themselves on the track for the Dragon. But Sengoku Gaming kind of taking the inside track to mid lane will pull them back, and we do see the Dragon dance kind of coming out here. While V3 Esports does have the current better position. Ooh, Pyrian goes in and Boogie immediately casking away. Pyrian going to be too chunked down, and Enti might be going down here. Does have the Aftershock to try to let him live, but is going to take too much damage. A great engage from Boogie. Pyrian getting a little bit too antsy, moving just a little bit too far forward, and that is going to be a quick punish from Boogie. Does commit his flash for that, but immediately a teleport coming out from Sengoku Gaming. Pyrian now, again, way too deep, is going to get ulted by Pause, and trying to walk out here takes a ton of damage for a somewhat greedy teleport. But Sengoku Gaming is already back in position where they want to contest for this Drake. They want that soul potential. They want to make sure that they're in position to threaten Soul and allow V3 Esports to have to try to worry about where they can dedicate vision. But now V3 Esports converging onto the Drake, knowing that they have time before NT is able to recover, so they want to be able to take the fight. Paz taking a lot of damage here. Yutori Maesh just tapping away, and now it's going to be a 50-50 onto the Drake. Paz going very low as Yutori Maeshi runs them down. Blank kicking everyone out of the pit and forcing them away from the Mountain Drake. Very good zone control. The fight sort of played out interestingly, where Yutori Maeshi is on the top side, just using his damage leverage to kind of push people away, and Opperman kind of just acting as a body, while Blank moves in and just makes sure that Boogie doesn't want to commit damage onto the Drake, doesn't want to have to worry about trying to 50-50 it. At the HP it was at, although Gragas does have burst potential on Drake, Lee Sin does as well, and neither of them can burst it from that much HP. So we'll watch it one more time where Pyrian comes in with the teleport and immediately gets chunked out very hard by the Paz's combo. But watch here again, as this fight kind of just breaks down interestingly. Paz comes over the wall, and Pyrian, burning his health pots, is actually able to stay at a decent HP. But where they find their way in is right here. Opperman just kind of walking in, being this sort of front line, having these extra minions. The Maiden just kind of slowly dealing DPS, but Yutori Maeshi is actually walking so far forward, and Opperman, he basically screens every member of V3 Esports, knowing that they can't just walk past the Yorick in order to get onto Yutori Maeshi and deal the damage that they need to. And this is going to turn into an issue for the side of V3 Esports if they cannot find their way around these fights. And with second item already being completed over for the Misfortune, is just the damage that is scaling up for him is just going to increase more and more. And now Paz finding himself well and chunked out. The Maiden actually offering a lot of damage for these for this little 1v1 that Opperman and Paz seem to find themselves, but Boogie looking to try and see if he can make anything happen. Anytime he can give the set alone to try and pick up some gold, pick up some turrets, and add pressure would be good. Boogie does have to be careful here as he goes in, activates the Predator, will try to combo Opperman out. Opperman goes up for the Q, but he is going to be able to be ulted back, flashes onto Boogie and does take him down, and now Paz finds himself in an interesting position with the Conquer. He might be able to heal it out, but Opperman is actually going to duel both in the 2v1 and turn that for the side of Sengoku Gaming. And this is huge for Sengoku Gaming. They have the vision control already on Baron. It is on the table if they decide to go for it, but they are going to have Pyrian pushing down the top lane, grabbing himself a free turret, while Opperman now just finds himself 2 kills and is back now 2-2 with a large CS lead over for pause in the top, the top side laners in the bottom side of the map. We'll watch this one more time. Now, the issue here is just the damage is unable to be. They can't get all the damage they want onto him. They are stuck in the bots from Opperman. Now, Boogie does get the ult, and Paz tries to combo it with his E, but Opperman just deals a little bit too much damage and isn't able to be dropped as quickly. He has the HP to just kind of make that last. Maiden does so much damage in these 2v2s when you're not able to focus her. And now we're seeing kind of an interesting build from Opperman. He does kind of have this little bit of a garage sale of different items available to him, but he does have now a ton of extra gold in his pocket, and this is going to look somewhat grim for the side of V3 Esports. Now they have the issue of their top laner, where they had all their resources dedicated, where their gold was invested, is now losing against the lane that you got all of that gold from. And if the 2v2 is unable to be done and Opperman is just that strong, you do have to begin to wonder, what is V3 Esports going to have to pull out for a victory here? And Opperman now being very aggressive, walking right up to Paz, knowing he can just take these fights at his leisure. He does have Blank to kind of spot out Vision. Boogie coming over the wall very dangerously, but not too hard of a punish available to the side of Sengoku Gaming just yet. This does look like Sengoku is just going to be playing for the Drake here, wants that Mountain Soul. The extra shield can be very beneficial and can turn a lot of these fights, but Sengoku Gaming, because they were already on the winning end of some of these fights so far, just having that extra HP bar makes it that much more difficult for V3 Esports in a comp that already kind of struggles with their late game damage. It can be very bad. Ooh, Blank immediately going on to Archer, is going to flash, gets knocked up by the Glacial Fissure, and is not able to find the kick onto Archer. Now he's able to kick away Boogie and lands the Q to try and pull himself out, but he's going to go down before he has the opportunity. Blank picking up that kill. Period. Making himself scarce as he tries to teleport away from 3 members of V3 Esports. Yutori Mayeshi's chasing very aggressively and finds himself out in the open. A little bit of poor positioning from the Misfortune, gets a little bit too hungry onto Boogie and is actually going to go down for it. But Opperman now solo pushing in this bottom side, and while Paz is now showing up, does he win this fight? Is going to ult him back to try and reconvene, trying to make up for lost time on the 2v2, but now with Ace in tow, Paz taking a lot of damage here. Opperman is going to go down, but Pyrian and Enti are here to try and save the day, picking up the kill onto Paz, and now being split up slightly as Boogie finds himself onto Pyrian, but is on the real one. He actually gets baited off of it by the clone. Empyrean dancing around members of V3 Esports, slowly trying to find his way out as Ace finds the kill on Enti. Empyrean has nowhere to run. He's really just buying time for his team, trying to see if he can give any time over for this Mountain Drake, but it might be that Pyrian is able to get out here. Ace and Boogie are both committed to the Drake at this point. They're rotating back down now for Pyrian as he tries to make his way out. He will have to commit some more fancy footwork here, but it doesn't look like he'll be able to get out of this one alive. Pyrian is going to go down, but Sengoku Gaming looking around the Drake, seeing if they can pull anything off, but that is a bit of throwing from the side of Sengoku Gaming. Just multiple members not where they need to be, and V3 Esports picking apart the fight in just Sengoku's greedy positioning. It does look like Blank is going to go for the 50-50 here, is going to be able to go in, but the bullet time actually picking it up before Blank even has the opportunity to take the Q in. The Sonic Wave not followed up on as Yutori Mayeshi burns down the Drake with his bullet time. The smite from Boogie just coming in a little bit too soon. The 10 HP that the Drake lives on does mean that Soul goes over to Sengoku Gaming and they lose nothing for it. And that is a tragedy for the side of V3 Esports, where now they have to deal with Mountain Soul. They did pick up a fight win and they do have a lot of gold over to Jace, but now you have to worry about the Drake damage as well. We'll watch this one more time from Sengoku's view. They don't have a whole lot of vision. They walk up And you can see here, the bullet time comes in, the smite a second too early, and leaves it at just 10 HP, barely missing the smite. And that is a crucial one, unfortunately, for the side of V3 Esports. That is a crucial one to be missing in that moment. And now Soul handed over to Sengoku Gaming, ripped away from Yutori Moyashi. And now we do find ourselves in a bit of an interesting spot where we do have Baron still available. Baron has not been taken yet, so not the strongest Baron available to them, but V3 Esports, with the extra gold they got in in their pocket from those fights earlier, they do have the ability to contest objectives now. Although Yutori Moyashi does have the vision, or Sengoku Gaming does have the advantage right now to try and set up some vision. Opperman still pressuring in that bot lane, the unstoppable wave of Yorick's Graveborn as they just walk down that bottom side. He is going to find V3 Esports having to choose where they want to dedicate. Paz still not able to answer Opperman effectively. And we do see Pyrion finding a little bit of harass over to Paz. Doesn't get the electrocute proc off just yet. As Sengoku Gaming does try to take away all the resources on this top side of the map. You want, and a very good play from them, you want to disincentivize anyone from showing up to that top side. If they want to go for that vision, they have to be sacrificing CS for it. And Paz getting very low, having a little bit of trouble dealing with the these cats that are just chasing him down from the Yorick. And now Sengoku Gaming finds himself onto the Baron already. Pyrion just looking to harass, trying to zone, throwing damage onto Reyna there, but not exactly the target he wants. Is now damage going over to Pyrion. Pyrion very low, is going to be able to find himself out of that fight, but will get Sengoku Gaming off of the Baron. Not able to pressure that. Now Opperman finding himself in the continued 1v1 versus the side of V3 versus Paz, and Paz is not finding himself on the winning end of it. He does have the inhibitor down, and that is nothing that is able to be answered for the side of V3 Esports. Teleport's coming out from Pyrion. He is making effective use of this teleport, wants to keep his pressure up, playing rather aggressively, but with that teleport in his back pocket, is able to do so. Finds damage onto Archer, but is going to be Blank who goes down first. NT engaging onto Archer as the bullet time comes through, but doesn't find any kills. NT going to go down here, not able to walk away from that much damage, and V3 Esports finding themselves the better end of this fight once again. Just multiple fights of, it feels like Sengoku Gaming is not able to find the fights that they want here, while V3 Esports is able to pick up multiple members, just picking apart the fights in their favor, not going down to that bullet time, and Yutori Moyashi, not able to find the damage that he needs to, is just netting multiple wins for V3 Esports, and now finding themselves with the kill lead. They are now able to pressure down that mid lane turret, evening the gold disparity. They do have an inhibitor down in the bottom side, but all it feels to be doing is, and Pyrion going way too deep. As I say it, Pyrion forced to Zhonya's, but is going to go down. Pyrion flashing away, does dodge the chase Q coming through. Opperman now on the chase, running down the members with the misfortune in tow, and that is going to be Pyrion backing once more. Pyrion playing a bit too aggressively. It feels as though Sengoku Gaming is playing more aggressively than they're able to, and not always ready to follow up where they need to. Although now they find themselves onto the Baron once more, and I don't believe that the side of V3 Esports knows that they're going to be doing it. With the Baron, or with the inhibitor already down in the bottom side, now they move the Yorick into the mid lane, grabbing more pressure, and with the mid lane pressure and the mid lane priority that is going to net them, this Baron is pretty free. And we'll watch the replay one more time as Pyrion comes teleporting in, is going deep. Blank gets chunked out a little bit, tries to find himself over the wall. A little bit greedy going for this ward, but he does bait Archer out so Pyrion can try to get damage onto him, but the Glacial Fissure comes through, and like we said earlier, Reyna on the Braum with the shield is able to block the Misfortune ulti from a lot of the damage that would reach key members of V3 Esports. And with that kind of, with the play running out like that, that is Yutori Miyashi not able to find the damage that he needs to try to turn these fights. Although it does feel a little bit as though Blank might have been a little bit too deep there, contesting vision just a little bit too quickly. Sengoku Gaming, it almost looks like they're too pressured to make things happen, and they almost feel too pressured to try and be the ones initiating, being the ones who are just opening up before the rest of the team is ready. They need to slow it down slightly, and they can play to secure these objectives. They're playing around these objectives very cleanly, but it's these little fights that are just slowly giving V3 Esports a chance. But now, with the Elder Drake being burned down, it doesn't look like any amount of contest from the side of V3 Esports. It will be very difficult for V3 Esports to find their way back. They do have Baron buff for another minute and a half, Elder buff for 2.5. This is Sengoku's time to try and find the fight that they need to. They have Soul, they have Baron, they have Elder. It is going to be very difficult for the side of V3 Esports to answer this onslaught from Sengoku Gaming. Pyrion coming over the wall, looking for a bit more harass, as Sengoku Gaming willing to just let these Baron minions do what they do best. Damage to turrets, as Opperman now escorting another wave into the top side with a few minions of his own in tow. Pyrion now walking the Baron empowered minions of bot lane in as well, and V3 Esports has too much to answer. It doesn't look like they have any ability to engage, any ability to clear the waves, or any ability to take the fights and deny Sengoku Gaming from walking their base down. Sengoku Gaming in just such a strong position that it doesn't feel like V3 Esports will have any potential to try and make this happen. They are looking for a fight here. We do see Yutori Miyashi getting ulted by Paz, but Paz on the backline is just going to be able to deal damage, not able to knock down the Misfortune solo, as now we just see the members of Sengoku Gaming going for the end, harassing, pushing everyone back. Pause on the wrong end of this fight as they just pad their KDA a bit, knocking down everyone in Fountain with the bullet time and picking up the Nexus for the side of Sengoku Gaming. We actually have a pretty clean game from the side of from Sengoku Gaming, but some very exploitable gaps in their play from the side of V3 Esports. Just dedicating gold towards Paz in the top lane on that set. Opperman felt very ready to play out as the game got on. He was just comfortable on the Yorick. Paz didn't seem to have an answer. Neither did any member of V3 Esports for that matter. And as the game got later and the objectives added up for Sengoku Gaming, it didn't seem to matter as much that they were the ones that kind of had these fights that were not going their way. That they had these fights that seemed to be just falling apart for Sengoku Gaming. Not exactly the cleanest showing from their team fights, but from their objective control and just their ability to play the map, you did see just multiple times that Sengoku Gaming seemed to be in the more dominant position.